They say it, and it's true, that everything is getting faster. You're not getting any younger, and time is the single resource that you can never get back or get any more of. So why walk into your local comic shop blind when you can go in laser focused on the best books on the shelf?
Hi everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. Yeah!
Spend 1 hour with Miss Jen and Bean, and they'll give you rapid-fire reviews of all the new comics hitting stores. Spend less time shopping and more time reading.
This is Provenance of Secrets.
This is The Heathens. I read Wolverine number 17.
Minute to Skim It, every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. Today, we're going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett. This mirror image thing really throws me off when I'm looking at the screen. We're going to talk about the episode of the Book of Boba Fett, which was an interesting episode. There were things about it that I really liked. And there are things about it I didn't like. And I'm very mixed on it. You know, a lot of people are out there going, oh my God, this is the greatest show ever. And I liked the first episode a lot. I really liked the second episode. But that third episode has left me very mixed. But we'll talk about that in just a second. If you are looking for stuff to watch this weekend, keep in mind that The Eternals has dropped on Disney Plus. It's in both of their regular and their new IMAX formats setup. I plan on watching it at some point this weekend. I want to watch the IMAX version. IMAX version. I saw it in the theater. I liked it. You know, I'm seeing a lot of hate out there for it. It's not your typical Marvel movie. It's not, you know, there's a carbon copy bad guy, has the same powers and everything else is the good guy. It's not any of those normal Marvel tropes. It's a very different type of movie. And I saw it the same day I saw Dune, which was kind of interesting because they're both these big epic space things. Just one happens to take place on Earth and the other happens to take place on Arrakis. So I don't understand all the hate. I've not understood the hate since it came out. I mean, there's some people who say it's boring. It's not a big action fight thing. It's something different, you know? So if you watched it, you didn't like it, hey, more power to you. If you haven't watched it yet, you should probably watch it and make your own opinion. I liked it well enough. I liked the interaction, some of the characters. I thought Kamal Najani was great. Brian Tyrese Hill, I think his name was great. Laura Ridlin. I'm just names off the top of my head. Overall, I liked the movie. And like I said, I don't really get the hate because a lot of people seem to be going out of their way to talk down about it. Like Marvel ripped them off. Like they're angry about it. You know? Yes, there's a same-sex kiss in it. So what? Would people be as upset if it had been Cersei and Athena that kissed? Or Cersei, if Cersei had a girlfriend instead of a boyfriend? Because I noticed that the people who get really upset about two guys kissing on screen don't seem to get nearly upset when it's two girls. Just an observation. Me? I don't care. It's the story. It's part of the story. You know? But it is what it is. All right. Let's move on. Also, if you were looking for something to watch this weekend, Peacemaker has dropped on HBO Max. That's the new John Cena-led, James Gunn written and directed series taking up the character from Suicide Squad. Sorry, The Suicide Squad. That's how you differentiate between the two movies. Not because Margot Robbie's in both with Harley Quinn, all this other stuff. You know, it's just The Suicide Squad versus Suicide Squad. But The Suicide Squad was a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to Peacemaker. John Cena has been working this character like a second job. I mean, he is wearing the costume everywhere. He's doing all the stuff to hype it. I almost feel like I owe it to him. I'm not even a John Cena fan. I'm not a wrestling fan. I'm not a wrestling guy. I stopped watching wrestling when I was 14. And so John Cena wasn't for me. I never really looked at him and thought, oh, there's a good actor, but I enjoy him as Peacemaker. Or, you know, he describes the character as being a douchey Captain America. So also I'm familiar, you know, the character itself. I should have done a deep dive into the character. Maybe I'll do that next week. I am going to talk about the show next week. I'm going to watch it. Kyle, JD says, truth, New Mutants had a gay kiss first, but no fervor. Well, that's probably because no one's seen the New Mutants. And that's not a rip on New Mutants. Don't get me wrong. I am not ripping on New Mutants at all. I've got no problem with the movie. Got it right here. I know Bill Sienkiewicz is a big fan of the movie, and being that a lot of those characters were kind of his lifeblood for a while, more power to him. But yeah, it just didn't get the attention that Eternals did. I think it's because it was technically a non-MCU film, though they could absolutely make that canon. You know, there's been a lot of rumors about the Multiverse of Madness having an X-Men in it or a mutant in it to fight Wanda. And everybody's like, oh, it's going to be Ian McKellen. It's going to be Michael Fassbender. It's going to be Patrick Stewart. You know, it's going to be one of those characters. And I keep thinking to myself, it should be Anna Taylor-Joy as Magic. That's a much better character. I think that would be a better fight. Plus, Anna Taylor-Joy is a huge actress right now, and bringing Magic in as the first mutant, I think, would really surprise people and would make a real interesting fight, you know? And then you lock Anna Taylor-Joy into the MCU. So, and a few other characters too, you know. I don't think New Mutants is bad. I don't see any reason why not to, you know, bring that in. I don't know. There's been a lot of talk about Multiverse of Madness. They're doing a lot of reshoots and whatnot. And the rumor mill is going crazy right now. Jeff says, I still need to watch New Mutants and Eternals. Thanks for the week and watch reminder. You're welcome. Yeah. Huh. That's weird. I didn't see. Oh. Okay. I wasn't seeing the comments for a minute there, but I got it worked out. Yeah. Yeah. She was great as Magic. So, New Mutants only streaming on HBO Max by the... Oh, okay. So you got a lot of stuff you can watch on HBO Max if you have it. You can watch the Teen Titans or the Titans. You can watch Doom Patrol. You can watch The Peacemaker. You can watch New Mutants. And also, if you're looking for something different, DC or Warner Brothers released the Batman audio adventures with, I think it's Jeffrey Wright as Batman, and it's a huge cast, and I can't think of, but I listened to the first one. It's like an old radio program. You turn it on. So if you're working, especially if you're an artist or a writer, you're working, you want to turn that on. It's a lot of fun. The first one was really fun. So check out the Batman audio adventures on HBO Max as well. Also, going old school here, the Perry Mason series they did last year before was fantastic. I mean, really, really good. And that was executive produced by Robert Downey Jr. But that was phenomenal. And it's not the Perry Mason you expect. To me, Perry Mason is is Raymond Burr in a courtroom. And that's not what we got. This is much more 1920s True Detective type thing. It's a really good series. So I guess I'm actually recommending you should check out HBO Max. Yeah, there's a bunch of other good shows out there too. Lost Symbol over on the Peacock. Strange Angel on Paramount. Of course, all the stuff on Disney Plus. So if you have a streaming channel or Hulu has Hit Monkey, the new Marvel animated series. So there's a lot of great stuff out there if you're just looking for things to watch this weekend. And I got to tell you, until this Omicron thing starts, they're saying that the Omicron phase is going to start diving. We're going to get past the peak. Great. But you got to get past the peak. Lisa, my girlfriend, she got COVID, and I haven't seen her in a few weeks now because of it, or in a little bit because of it. This one is, no matter how careful you are, there's a chance you're going to get nailed by this. So stay home, watch movies, binge. If you haven't seen The Witcher yet, watch The Witcher on Netflix. There's plenty of things to watch on any of the streaming services, or even there's this little thing called the Book of Boba Fett. How's that for a segue? I'm being professional here. Professional segue into Book of Boba Fett. All right. JD says, seen a couple episodes of Hit Monkey. It's fun, Archer type feel. Okay, so there you go. If you're an Archer fan, check out Hit Monkey. All right, let's get into the Book of Boba Fett. But before we do, we should probably roll the spoiler warning. JD, if you would. Maybe. I just had him roll a spoiler warning just so I could eat another piece of popcorn. Kind of addicted to popcorn right now. I got one of those big buckets for Christmas. I've already gone through all the caramel, and now I'm just on the regular. Not a big cheese guy, so the cheese ones are over on the side. It's like, I get to you, but yeah, so I got some popcorn here. All right, Book of Boba Fett. Like I said, I'm very mixed about this episode, but it's also interesting to me because I think they set us up. There was a reason they did so little in the modern day and then would do these big flashbacks. That way we're expecting a big flashback in the third episode, and where we get a medium-sized one and then we get yanked out of it real quick, it's kind of a surprise. If you haven't seen the episode, you don't know what I'm talking about. If you have seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The sudden ripping you out of a flashback. I've never even seen that before. That suddenly we're out of the flashback and back in live action, or the modern day. That was kind of interesting. But let's do this proper. We start off with where do we start off? He's not in the back to tank yet. Basically, he's got I'm forgetting where the episode starts off, but I know we get a vessel shows up, and it's played by Stephen Root, which is interesting. And if you don't know who Stephen Root is, he's been on probably every TV show ever. He's great. The biggest thing you'd recognize him from is Office Space. He's the red stapler guy, but he has been in everything. And Google him or IMDb him. IMDb, yeah. You'll see the guy has just done everything. And he comes in and he's a watermonger. I love that term, watermonger. Only on a desert planet would you have a watermonger. But he's a watermonger that's been ripped off by basically a gang of cyborgs is what he refers to them as. It's a group of kids who have cybernetic parts. And there's kind of a play on the whole Darth Vader thing. He talks about him very menacingly in the same way that Ben Kenobi described Anakin as now being more machine than man. It was kind of that vibe. He's one of those, that one guy from that thing type actors. Yes. And he changes his appearance just enough. I mean, he's the last generation's Nick Offerman. So I think he also did the voice of Battle Cat / Cringer in the Kevin Smith He-Man series. So he comes in and basically says, hey, Boba, nobody respects you because you're not really protecting the streets. This is the problem I had. I'd happily double my tribute if you took care of this, but it's obvious that he's the one that doesn't respect it. So Boba does what Boba does, which is walk everywhere. Not sure why he walks everywhere. You would think that a guy with a jetpack would fly more places. Did Jabba not have any vehicles? How far away is the castle from Mos Espa? Does he walk that whole distance? Him and Fennec and the two Gamorreans? Oh, we'll be there soon. I mean, that is kind of how he's staying in shape, though. I mean, Boba's in good shape. He's been working out. The back-to-tank thing, it's working for him. But he goes to town, and he finds this gang. And this is where we meet Sophie Turner from Yellow Jackets. And she plays a character named Drash. And there's also another one named Skag, played by Jordan Bolger. And there's two others. There's 4 total. I don't think they really I don't think they've given us all of their names yet. But so there's 4, 1 girl and 3 guys. And they're kind of a biker gang in a sense. Except for it's a biker gang if they drive Vespas. They're these weird, and this is one of the big complaints online right now. It's like it's split a lot of the fandom. They either these bikes look out of place. And that's how I felt about them too. I looked at them and I went, wow, why are they hit there? These mod looking bikes, someone referred to them as quadrophenia. And the argument, I mean, they're these bright colored speeder bikes with like big mirror setups, like they would do back in the 50s. And these very mod looking things in the middle of Tatooine. And the big counter argument to people going, those look really out of place, they don't seem to fit, is, well, we saw stuff like that on Coruscant. When Obi-Wan Kenobi went to the diner to get information, it had that 50s diner vibe. And these are just those bikes from that area or that type of design being brought here. And you know what? Sure, that could be the explanation. But the fact is that Tatooine is nothing looks good on Tatooine. That's because it's a giant sand planet. It's a giant desert. windstorm, the dust storms, the beating down sun, nothing stays looking good for any length of time. Even if you are constantly trying to take care of it, it still isn't going to look good for any length of time. And we have these 4 kids or teens or young people that say they don't have any money because there's no jobs, yet they're riding around on these tricked out speeder bikes that they obviously got off world, and either they're paying a fortune to keep them up, or the upkeep, or they just got them, and they're dressed very modern, or modern for Star Wars. They're dressed in that 50s kind of style, and they're doing, but they have no jobs. And that's the thing. It's kind of, I get that you can mentally explain all that stuff, but the fact is that when you come into the scene and you see that, it takes you out of the moment. They don't fit in to the scene they're in, and it's never explained. It's never even a line that takes care of it. It just is there. And then it's a big part of the episode, those damn bikes. So I get both sides of it. Yeah, you can absolutely explain away where they came from. They're imported from Coruscant. But anytime you have to stop and do that kind of logic, you're taking yourself out of the show. You're taking yourself out of the story. And I think that that's the problem here. If we were on Coruscant, those things wouldn't have fazed me at all. But on a planet where everything looks like it's 3 days from the trash heap, to see these bright, shiny 1950s style space Vespas, borrowing from JD, just really kind of threw it off, And then they're a big part of another scene. But Boba handles it in a unique way, is he goes up to talk to them, and he doesn't immediately just go up and attack or tell them, give me back the money, give me the water, whatever. They're giving away the water, or they're selling the water cheap. I don't remember which one it was, but he basically says, the fact that they, he says, well, we don't have jobs. We can't afford that. We needed the water to survive. So his solution is, all right, fine. You work for me now. So basically he's got 4 more fighters for him, along with the 2 Gamorrean guards that he saved. So he's building up this army. And he's got a huge palace, so it's not a problem. There's probably plenty of rooms. But at this point, Stephen Root comes running back in. And Root's character's name is Lortha Peel. And old Lortha is not happy because they stole from him. He's like, oh, no, I want restitution. So they owe me 1,300 credits. Well, and his answer is like, for water? So he gives them 500 credits. And he's like, but they owe me 1,300. He goes, you will take the 500 to consider it settled and lower your prices. So Boba didn't necessarily do what Lortha Peel wanted, but he resolved the situation. The problem is, I have a feeling that Lortha Peel is going to cause problems later on. Now, it could just be a throwaway, but Stephen Root, pretty big character to just bring in for a one-time thing. But so that's basically how that scene goes. He gets this biker gang to work for him. And that's the opening. Then we go back to the castle, and he goes back in the Bacta tank. And we go to the flashback. And the flashback is interesting because this was the other thing that really bothered me about, another thing that bothered me about the episode. There was a few things that bothered me about the episode, but we have been following this basic, it's not quite the white savior trope, but, the Westerner, the outsider, gets taken in by the tribe, saved by the tribe, and then the outsider starts teaching the tribe they teach each other, and he becomes the savior of the tribe. And that's what has been going on with this whole flashback setup. It's a classic Western thing, but we don't see it anymore because it's got some issues. It's a white savior trope. So two of the things that normally happen in this type of Western, one of which is there's a love interest, that he falls in love with one of the native women or whatever. And then the second would be, and especially if that one has a kid. So we met a youngling, we met a female. So it was all set up to go there. And then the other part of the trope is the attack on the tribe, and everybody, the big group gets killed or gets wiped out. And that's what happens here. And I was really, really hoping they weren't going to do that. Because it just felt cliche. It felt like we spend all this time creating these characters. We never give any of them names. We don't get any names for the characters. We humanize them as a race of people, but not as individuals. And they basically got fridged. They were killed just to move Boba's plot forward. He hops on the bantha, and only the leaders of the tribe ride the bantha. So he's now one of the leaders, or he's one of the higher ups in the tribe. And he rides the bantha into Mos Eisley to get his money from the Pike Syndicate. And they tell him, well, we don't mind paying you, but we're not going to pay for the same thing twice. This other swoop gang we've already paid them. So, and Boba goes, well, I'll take care of that. And then he rides back and discovers the entire tribe has been wiped out. And of course, the swoop bike gang tags it. This is the same ones that he had attacked in episode 2 to get the bikes. And it's the same ones he saw, attacking the moisture farmers. The Nikto gang. They give it a name, but I forget what the name of the gang was. They actually name it. And by the way, that was Phil Lamar doing the voice of the head of the Pike gang, which was kind of cool to see Phil Lamar pop in. But we basically get this scene where he gets back. He sees the tribe wiped out. I mean, completely wiped out. Nobody's left. He starts burning the bodies. We see him tossing some of the gaffy sticks in. And then the one that drives it home is there's this little stick that he has, and he tosses in the fire. And that was the little training stick of the youngling that he was with in the first 2 episodes. So they're all dead. All gone. They killed them all. And again, doesn't really make sense why. They didn't need to do that. They were moving the character along already. He had this connection to a tribe. To wipe them out just to move the character forward didn't seem necessary. It seemed like playing into that same old trope, and I'm a little disappointed by that. So that was another of the things that bothered me about the episode. All right, we are going to come back in just a moment, pick up on the rest of the flashback and the rest of the episode in just a moment. So be right back.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop.
Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. Today we are talking about Book of Boba Fett, Episode 3, The Streets of Mos Espa. And before we jump back into it, though, let me remind you that coming up right after the show is Minute to Skim It. Nope, not Minute to Skim It. What's in the Box with Miss Jen as she goes into her warehouse, grabs a random box, and puts whatever's in it up for sale. So it's a fun little shopping show. It's great to jump into. Go ahead and stick around for that. Also later tonight, Kicking It with Omri will be on. That's our late night program on Thursday, so you'll want to stick around here on The Experience. Also, a quick reminder, because I am horrible at self-promotion, I have to remind myself to do this. I have my Kickstarter going off right now. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet, it's called Karma. It's an erotic graphic novel, romance, about a straight-laced advertising photographer that gets pulled into the exotic and crazy world of a supermodel. We have some amazing covers by Stepan Sejic, Mirka Andolfo, and Michael Di Pascal. The interior art is by Carlos Renault, and the Kickstarter launched last week, and we hit our initial goal within a half hour. And it has been going strong. We just reached our second stretch goal, breaking the $30,000 mark. We're working towards our third, and we're actually coming up with a fourth one, which may involve some of my photography, which is the basis for where some of these adventures come from, things that happen to me as a photographer. So you want to definitely check that out. Links in the chat. It's not for the faint of heart, though. It's similar in style to like Sunstone or Swing, those kind of books, the romantic slice of life comics with adult themes. But it's not just outright straight up porn. So sorry if that's what you're looking for. Okay, guys. Let's get back into it. We are talking the Book of Boba Fett. Or it's flashback. I'm curious though why every time they do the flashback though, we start off with it on Camino with young Boba watching Jango fly off in the soon-to-be renamed ship, the formerly known as Slave One. Flies off, and we flash back to that. So that's going to mean something at some point, I think. But we don't know what yet. So we see him burning the bodies. Jeff pointed out they specifically show the chief's body and the youngling stick. But was there a specific point of the female warrior? I did not see anything about the female warrior, so I'm hoping she's still alive. because I thought she was kind of cool. And I mean, I thought she was awesome. But I don't know. Before we could get to that, Boba was suddenly ripped out of his bacta tank by Black Chrysanthemum. And if you don't know the backstory on Black Chrysanthemum, I did a whole show on it on Tuesday, deep dive into the character. So you want to take a look at that. It's on YouTube. But we get this awesome fight in the sense that the Wookiee is just beating the crap out of everybody. I mean, he first takes on Boba, who's just in his underwear. And he's throwing him around. And Boba, he tries to get to his armor. He can't. He grabs a gaffy stick and starts using that. Doesn't really do a whole lot of good. He's in a bear hug. He's about to go. And then the biker gang shows up. And we start seeing some of their weapons. And they seem like pretty good fighters. I got to tell you, that I'm actually impressed by their fighting ability. At least they get in there and they work. But the one downside of the fight, it's very much the everybody stands around waiting for their turn. Not everybody jumps the Wookiee at the same time. That's the one downside of the fight. It could have been a little faster, a little more kinetic. It's a little slow. But we see it really showcases the Wookiee's strength. BK is just throwing people around. He eventually attacks the two Gamorrean guards, bites one of them, severely injuring him. He's got his knuckle dusters are now electrified, something he probably learned from C-3PO when they fought. Yeah, Chrysanthemum is definitely bitey compared to what we saw Chewie. The interesting thing with Black Chrysanthemum is there's a term called a mad claw in the Wookiee world, and it's basically the only way to be excommunicated from the tribe is to be labeled a black claw, which means that you used your claws to attack someone, attack a living being. Basically, their rule is you only use your claws for positive reasons, for helping people, for peaceful reasons. So the fact that he was exiled from society means that he did something like that. So him being bitey and clawy and stuff like that makes a lot of sense. So, but they get this fight. They're going back and forth. And of course, the last person to get involved is Fennec, who just waits until BK is standing over the trapdoor and then drops him into the Rancor pit, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's like, okay, they went from not using it to using it a little much. We just dropped the other guy in there. Now we drop this guy in there, but it makes sense. But I would like to have seen Fennec actually fight him. But so we drop BK into there, and then we have this banquet scene where Boba and Fennec are at this huge table with all this food laid out. Boba tells them to put the injured Gamorrean guard into his bacta tank. So again, it shows that he's different than Jabba, because Jabba wouldn't do something like that. So he actually cares about the people working for him, which again shows that Boba is different. And is this because of his time with the Tuskens, or because he wasn't really like this before in the Clone Wars stuff? But we get that. And then we have this banquet, and we find out the twins have arrived. So he's sitting here trying to figure out, how am I going to, answer to this? And Fennec's like, don't answer. You've got their Wookiee. You won. You survived. That's all you need to do. And he's like, no, you give them too much time. They're going to do something. And the twins show up, which I think is hilarious because, again, they're carried on a litter from Mos Espa all the way out to Jabba's palace, or to now Boba's palace. That seems like a really long walk to be carrying two huts. I really feel sorry for the people in their litter. But he comes outside, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, that whole sending the Wookiee to kill you, our bad, we're sorry. Mea culpa, mea culpa. We, turns out the mayor promised the area to another syndicate, so we're going to get out of here. but just wanted to say we're sorry and bring a gift. We're going to give you this, and basically this flatbed like hovercraft shows up with a Rancor calf on it, and driving it is the new Rancor handler played by Danny Trejo. That is my favorite thing in the entire episode. Danny Trejo is now in the Star Wars universe as a Rancor handler. I love it. Absolutely love it. But so he's off to the side and they're like, so yeah. Oh, and by the way, the Wookiee, you can keep him, sell him back to the gladiators. We don't need him. We're going to jet because there's another syndicate coming and we don't want anything to do with that. So take care. Bye. And the litters turn around and start walking him back. If anyone watching the episode didn't say, oh shit, Danny Trejo, they don't want to. Yeah, exactly. That should have been the highlight of everybody's episode. Danny Trejo. Hey, it's Machete. And, but so again, and then the litter has to carry the two twins or the twins back. And just doesn't seem right. What it seems like to me is that the twins went, okay, there's another X factor here. We don't want to be in the middle of that. So let's make up with Boba. We'll back off. Let Boba and the Pike Syndicate fight it out. And then whoever wins will come in and get rid of them. Seems like a much better idea than trying to have an open war with Boba and then suddenly have to take on these other guys too. I think that's where the twins are coming from. So they bail, and then Boba turns to Black K and has him released and goes, don't work for assholes. Take it from me. And lets the guy go. And he runs off in the oddest looking jog I've ever seen in my life. It's another thing that just took me out of the episode, just to see him suddenly go. They didn't need to see it. They could have cut away from him leaving anything. Nope. He jogged off into the desert. Do I think that's the last we'll see of him? No. I think the fact that Boba set him free, eventually it'll come back around and he'll end up working for him, because Boba obviously seems to be building an army. He's got his 2 Gamorrean guards. He's got his 4 bikers. Now he's got Fennec. A big gladiator Wookiee would make a nice addition, especially since it looks like he's going to war. And then we get this scene, which them now doing for Rancors what they were doing for the Tuskens, basically not humanizing, but giving more depth to the characters, so they don't come across just like mindless evil creatures. They actually have Danny Trejo talk about how, they're very emotionally complex animals, and he's got blinders on because whoever the first person he sees, he bonds to. So and then he puts Boba in front of him and takes the blinders off so that the Rancor bonds to Boba. And he also mentions the witches of Dathomir, which are kind of the Night Sisters. I mean, this is like deep Legends cut. So the fact that they're even mentioned, of course, kind of canonizes them. But he talks about how they used to ride Rancors through the jungle. And of course, Boba's like, I want to ride this one. Yep, I want to ride this one. And when he says, he says, I've written things 10 times its size. And that is an absolute reference to the holiday special, where Boba was introduced in the animated series, or the animated holiday special, riding a mythosaur. So they're connecting a lot of interesting dots. In this episode, we got comic characters, animated references to the animated part of the holiday special, to deep cuts of the Legends. They're tying a lot of stuff in here. There's got to be somebody at Lucasfilms going, wait, you want to? wait, is that canon now? Oh God, okay. There's got to be somebody who has to keep track of all this, and every time they put out a new episode, he's probably just sweating. Yeah. How do I work all this in? Oh my God. But so he has that moment with the Rancor, and then 8B8, of course, played by the great Matt Berry, pops his head in and goes, because basically he wants to go talk to the mayor to find out, well, who did you promise us the area to, stuff like that. And of course, the mayor's like, I'm booked up for a few months. So the poor 8B8 comes in and goes, the mayor is booked up for the next few months. And he's like, so Boba leaves. And you see Danny Trejo petting the Rancor going, it's okay, he'll be back soon. So already the Rancor has bonded to Boba Fett. But he goes and heads into town with his biker gang now because one of the Gamorrean guards is hurt. And I guess the other one's there playing nursemaid. Maybe they're both hurt. I don't know. But he just takes the biker gang, which we just had introduced. So, they're going to come in handy. And we get into town. And of course, the major domo's there and trying to oh no, the mayor is booked up solid. And Boba's like tapping his gun going, unbook him. And he goes, oh, let me see what I can do. And he goes in, he locks the door and runs. So Fennec has to break the door down, or jimmy the panel basically. And they go in, they find out that he's run out the back door. He's hopped in a speeder to take off. So Boba goes outside and tells his biker gang, go get him. And then we end up with this really slow chase through the streets of Mos Espa. We get a lot of eye candy. We get a protocol droid that almost gets run over, and then pit droids, and then an R2 unit pulling. I mean, there's all these things. There's references to one of those rickshaws with the biths in the back of it. There's a lot of eye candy. There's even a point where one of the bikers crashes through a painting, and the painting is of Jabba in his palace with Boba Fett in the back and all that stuff. Well, the actual painting is a Ralph McQuarrie concept art that he did for the original movie, or for Return of the Jedi. So they actually have a big thing of it, and they bust through it. So it's like they keep doing these Ralph McQuarrie nods, just like they did in the previous episode where he was making his gaffy stick. That setup that he was making it is straight from a Ralph McQuarrie drawing. So there's obviously a lot of Ralph McQuarrie love going on in this episode. JD says, so slow. Thrill as they travel at speeds up to 3 miles per hour. We do get to see some of the enhancements that the biker gang has, or the cyber gang. One guy has like a jackhammer in his foot, which I'd like to have known what the discussion was, that was what he was going to put. But we see some of their enhancements. We see a little bit of trick riding, but again, it's just this really awkward, slow speed chase. And the speeder that the Major Domo is driving looks just like Luke's speeder from A New Hope, but with like these side panels put on it. So it looked like a cross between Luke's speeder and the speeder Han Solo had in Solo in the beginning. It's like a cross between those two. And of course, he ends up crashing into a thing of fruit. And then Boba lands. Comes in with the jetpack. It's like, oh, hey, Boba, you remembered you have a jetpack. That's cool. I'm glad you found that on switch again. That's awesome. Boba lands, and of course the guy just like, he's with the Pike Syndicate. He's helping the Pike. Then we cut to one of the bikers is hanging out at the port, and we see a bunch of Pike getting off one of the transports, and he calls in, and from like a payphone. A holophone, or whatever they want to call them. I don't know the actual term for it, but and it again, that's one of those. Oh yeah, they've got those. I don't remember ever seeing them on Tatooine, but they have those holophone things. Okay, yeah. That was another moment that made me stop and think. And I guess I'm so used to Tatooine being this backwater little area that anytime they introduce technology that's on other planets, it just seems out of place. So one of the neat things that, and I forgot to mention earlier, when Boba rides the Bantha into Mos Eisley, in the background, we see the stormtrooper helmets on the pikes, and as he's riding in the background, you see a character walking along with 3 little pit droids. Well, that character is Amy Sedaris' character from The Mandalorian, the mechanic in Mos Eisley, that he ends up, parking his, what used to be the Razor Crest at. So there was a nice little cameo nod to The Mandalorian. So now we got Mandalorian comic book characters, deep cut Legends characters, video, they're pulling out all the stops, and Danny Trejo, and Stephen Root, and Matt Berry. I mean, and Phil Lamar. So there's a lot of neat cameos in this episode. There were some really neat moments. It ends with they're bringing a lot of people. They're ready for war. And Boba says, well, then we'll be ready too. So Boba's got to put an army together. We're 3 episodes into a 7-episode run. My biggest problem with the episode, my biggest problem is they killed the Tuskens. I really didn't think that was necessary, and that bothered me a lot. And the mod-looking speeder bikes really threw me out of the moment. But the thing that bugged me the most is the bait and switch that's going on. The first episode, he's got to deal with the Tuskens. By the second episode, by the end of the episode, he kind of befriends them. Okay, fine. And he's going into town, and he gets the mayor tries to assassinate him. So, okay, the mayor's the big bad. The mayor's the bad guy he's got to take on. Nope, turns out it's not. Episode 2, we find out it's the Twin Hutts and Black Chrysanthemum. Well, they turned out to be nothing. They have one fight with Black Chrysanthemum. They stop him. And then the twins give up and leave. And it's like this weird bait and switch. We're going to set you up, and here's the bad guys. And no. And in the flashback, we have the moment of the Pike Syndicate. And they take him out on the train thing. So the Pike Syndicate doesn't really seem all that threatening. We get their helmets off. We see that they're fish people. They just don't seem that threatening. And now we're back around where the Pikes are supposed to be the bad guy, but they don't seem that threatening. A lot of fish doesn't seem like it's much more dangerous than some fish, Just bring the butter and oil, or bring the butter and lemon. I don't know. It just... This episode left me feeling kind of meh. I love the fight with Black Chrysanthemum. I like Boba, how he's moving along. The Tartarsosians are their sworn enemies, yeah. What is with Star Wars and fish-based races? We got the Pike, the Mon Calamari, the Quarren. It's a little over the top. So you've got all this going on. It just feels like... the Book of Boba Fett, the first 2 episodes didn't seem to matter anymore. We've killed all the Tuskens. The bosses we've introduced are no really bosses. I mean, the heist, the big action chase scene didn't really feel like a big action chase scene. We had one good fight, but even that was hokey pokey style, 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out. It just, I don't know. It left me feeling meh. I really wanted... There was this momentum building over the first 2 episodes. And I feel like we went... And I come out of the 3rd episode going, we're back to the Pike? It's just going to be a lot of them? But I don't know. And none of the characters that have been introduced seem to actually matter. Garza Flip, we get in 2 episodes, and now she's not even in this one. Didn't seem to matter. The mayor doesn't even, we don't even see the mayor. We just see his major domo. It's, none of these characters seem that threatening other than BK, and they beat him. You know? And now then he jogs off. Like, it's not very a badass move when you have to jog off into the desert. I don't know. Just, it feels a little, like I said, boom. I'm still in. I'm still going to watch the next episode. I like the series overall. I like the acting. I don't know what they're doing. If we find out that the Pikes aren't really behind it, and that we take care of the Pikes in 1 episode, and then suddenly there's something else we have to deal with, and it turns out it's, I don't know, 8B8 is a real bad guy, then I might tap out. But that's where I'm at on this. All right, guys, that wraps this episode up. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying Book of Boba Fett. We will be back next week where I'll do shows about Peacemaker and the next Book of Boba Fett episode. I think there's going to be an interview at some point, but I have to still set that up. I may do a history dive into Peacemaker. If not, stick around for What's in the Box from this gen. Later on, Kicking It with Omri. Please check out the Kickstarter if you get a chance for Karma, and have a great weekend. Good night, everybody.